If you take a normal biological cell and heat it to 600 degrees Fahrenheit, it boils, bursts, and dies instantly. Every known living thing on Earth has a limit. But in the summer of 2001, a physicist put a drop of red liquid under a microscope and pushed it to that exact temperature. The cells didn't die. Instead, they started to multiply. Stunned by the result, researchers immediately ran DNA tests to identify the organism. The test came back completely blank. Zero DNA. Whatever these cells were, they seemed to violate one of the most fundamental rules of biology. They didn't fit anywhere on Earth's known tree of life. But the most terrifying part wasn't what these cells were. It was where they came from. They weren't created in a secret laboratory. Over 50 tons of this mysterious red biology fell directly out of the sky, raining down on the Indian state of Kerala for 2 entire months as the red rain of Kerala.
But there's something very out of the ordinary about this rain. It's blood red.
The sky literally bled. People thought it was the end of the world. The government rushed in, panicked, and told the public it was just a strange sandstorm. But behind closed doors, a fierce scientific war had just begun. Because a group of scientists realized the horrifying truth. The Earth hadn't just experienced bad weather, it had just been seeded by something not of this world. Kerala, located in southern India, is famous for its monsoons. Heavy, torrential rain is a normal, everyday part of life. The people there are used to storms, but what started on July 25, 2001 was completely unnatural. It began with a sound. A massive, deafening sonic boom echoed across the Kottayam district. It was so powerful that it shook the foundations of houses and rattled windows. Hours later, the sky turned unusually dark, and then the downpour began. But this red rain was highly localized and completely unpredictable. It wouldn't rain over an entire city. Instead, it would pour dark, blood-red water over a few square miles for 20 minutes, completely vanish, and then suddenly return the next day over a different neighborhood. You could be standing in perfectly clear rain, while the house across the street was being drenched in red water. Try to imagine the absolute panic on the ground. This wasn't just strange-looking water falling from the clouds. When the red rain hit the trees, it actually burned the leaves, turning them grey before they dropped off, almost like they'd been sprayed with acid. Almost overnight, people's drinking wells filled up with this thick pink liquid, causing entire towns to just completely shut down. Farmers were terrified that their land was poisoned forever, and when something like that happens, the rumors start flying. Half the people thought it was a dark curse or a sign that the world was ending, while the other half were convinced a secret military weapon had just exploded right above their heads. With a massive crisis on their hands, the government knew they had to calm everyone down and fast. So they quickly tested the water, and a few days later, they handed the public the most boring, safe excuse possible. It was just dust. They went on the news and explained that a massive sandstorm in the Arabian desert had simply blown across the ocean, mixed in with the rain clouds, and fallen down as red mud. They told everyone to take a deep breath and go home. Because dust makes sense, right? It's safe. It's just weather. But there was one huge hole in the government story. If you scoop up a bucket of dust and water, the dirt just sinks straight to the bottom. And if you put normal sand under a microscope, it just looks like tiny, sharp pieces of broken rock. Whatever was in this water didn't act like dust, and it definitely didn't look like this. Dr. Godfrey Lewis, a physicist at a local university, just wasn't buying the government story. It didn't make any scientific sense to him. So, he went out, collected a sample of the rainwater himself, and put it under his own microscope. And what he saw made him realize the government was either lying or they were completely incompetent. He wasn't looking at sand or mud from the desert. He was looking at millions of biological cells that looked startlingly similar to human red blood cells. The sky hadn't been raining dirt at all, it was raining biology. You have to wonder, how do millions of living cells end up inside a rain cloud? At first, you might think maybe a massive flock of bats got caught in an airplane engine, but the math just doesn't add up. Experts estimated that over 50 tons of these red cells fell on Kerala during those 2 months, and you simply can't get 50 tons of blood from a flock of birds. To figure out exactly what they were dealing with, Dr. Lewis and his team started running tests. But with every single experiment, the results seemed to break all the known rules of biology. First, they looked for DNA, the basic blueprint of life that every single living thing on Earth shares. You have it, plants have it, even the deepest ocean bacteria have it. But when they tested these red cells, the results came back completely blank. Then, things got even weirder when they tested the cell's survival limits. They put them inside a high-pressure chamber and cranked the heat up to nearly 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, any normal cell on Earth would boil and die instantly at that temperature. But according to Dr. Lewis's published research, these cells didn't just survive the heat, they actually started to multiply. They were thriving in conditions that would instantly kill anything from our world. So, think about what they were looking at. Cells with zero DNA that love extreme heat and literally fell from the sky. Dr. Lewis remembered that massive, unexplained sonic boom that thousands of people heard right before the red rain started. Putting all these bizarre pieces together, he published a scientific paper that sent shockwaves across the globe. He claimed that the loud boom wasn't thunder at all. It was a meteor exploding in the upper atmosphere, and that meteor was acting as a cosmic delivery vehicle, carrying alien microbes straight to Earth. Now, I know this sounds completely insane, but in the scientific world, Dr. Lewis wasn't just making up a crazy story for attention. He was actually leaning on a very real, very serious scientific theory called panspermia. For decades, some of the most brilliant minds in science, like the famous British astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle, argued that outer space isn't just an empty, dead void. Instead, they believed space is actually a massive highway for microscopic life. Here is how the theory works. It suggests that life didn't actually start here on Earth. Instead, tough microscopic life floats through the freezing vacuum of space by hitching a ride on comets and asteroids. Because space is such a harsh, deadly environment, these tiny microbes have to develop incredibly thick, armored shells just to survive. Then, when these space rocks eventually crash into a new planet, they act just like seeds, planting life wherever they land. Dr. Lewis argued that this is exactly what happened over India. He believed a fragile piece of a comet, loaded with alien spores, slammed into Earth's atmosphere and detonated, which would perfectly explain that massive, mysterious sonic boom everyone heard. Those thick-shelled alien cells easily survived the intense heat of the explosion, mixed right into the monsoon clouds, and rained down on Kerala. Without holding back, Dr. Lewis was essentially telling the world, we are not alone in the universe. And the definitive proof is sitting right here in a plastic bucket in India. When Dr. Lewis published his paper, it essentially started a civil war in the scientific community. On one side, you had famous space experts flying in from the UK to back him up. They pointed at the thick walls of the cells and said, look, these are perfectly built to survive the harsh freeze of deep space. But on the other side, mainstream biologists were furious. They argued that the zero DNA result was just a careless mistake caused by cheap lab equipment. And they called Dr. Lewis completely reckless for yelling aliens so quickly. But as wild as the alien theory sounds, if you look back through history, the sky dropping impossible things is actually pretty common. Take the year 1876 in Bath County, Kentucky. Out of nowhere, on a completely clear day, chunks of raw, red meat just started raining down over a local farm for several minutes. 2 guys actually tasted it, claiming it tasted like mutton. Scientists later guessed it was caused by a massive flock of vultures throwing up in a panic mid-flight. But honestly, nobody ever proved it for sure. Or look at Honduras, where they have a very real, documented event called the Rain of Fish. Almost every single year, right after a massive, dark storm, the streets of a town called Yoro end up completely covered in living, flopping silver fish that seem to have fallen straight out of the clouds. The point is, nature is totally capable of scooping up bizarre things, carrying them for miles, and dropping them right on our heads, which left everyone staring at the same massive question. Was the Kerala red rain just another freak weather accident that swept up something from Earth? Or was this actually the greatest scientific discovery in human history? For over 10 years, Nobody had a solid answer. The red rainwater just sat in glass tubes in laboratories all over the world, fiercely debated, quietly holding on to its secret. Years later, an international team with much better modern technology finally got a hold of the red rain samples. Instead of using basic university lab tools, they used powerful, specialized chemicals to physically break open those incredibly thick, heat-proof cell walls. And hiding right there on the inside, they found DNA. The alien theory was officially dead. The cells belonged to Earth. But when they ran that DNA through a global database to see exactly what kind of creature they were dealing with, the match they got was almost as surprising as aliens. It wasn't human blood, it wasn't bat blood, and it definitely wasn't desert sand. It was actually a type of local green algae. This specific algae grows on tree trunks, rocks, and damp walls all over the state of Kerala. Whenever the sunlight gets too harsh, the algae produces a heavy red color to protect itself. It basically acts like a natural, biological sunscreen. So, those alien blood cells that survived 600-degree heat and baffled the entire world, they were just tough, highly evolved plant spores. Mystery solved, right? It was just local plants. The scientific community packed up, went home, and called the case closed. But hold on a second. If this was just algae growing on local trees, how did over 50 tons of it get sucked up into the sky? Plant spores are heavy. They don't just gently float up into the clouds on a warm summer breeze. To get that much algae high up into the atmosphere, perfectly mix it with the rain and spread it across an entire state for 2 straight months, you would need an absolutely impossible weather event. You would need a wind so powerful it acted like a giant invisible vacuum cleaner, ripping the spores off millions of trees and holding them trapped in the sky. And remember that massive, terrifying sonic boom that started the whole thing on the morning of July 25th? The boom that Dr. Lewis thought was an exploding meteor? Well, to this day, weather experts still have absolutely no explanation for what caused it. So yes, we finally know what the red rain was. It was just plants from Earth. But to this day, science still cannot fully explain how it happened. Sometimes, the universe is incredibly strange. We spend so much time looking up at the stars, searching for the unknown. But maybe the most mysterious, unexplainable things aren't hiding out there in the dark. Maybe they're hiding right here in our own backyard, just waiting for the wind to pick them up. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, hit the like button and subscribe to Beyond Fame. What unsolved mystery should we dive into next? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.